Tom, I think it goes without saying, probably not the way you wanted to end the season.
No, I mean, it's not. I'm really sort of disappointed for the supporters who turned up in such good numbers, and to sort of see a game that was over, long before the end. Just exactly what you sort of didn't want and what they didn't deserve. So I'm really sad about that. I'm sad, that the players didn't sort of go out as they would have wanted to go out in terms of finishing the season. But I must say, from my point of view, I think it does give you a bit of a reality check in terms of, we've got some amazing potential, but we've got to take the next step, and it is a big step. We probably need some acquisitions, not loads, but we need to sort of get 2 or 3 people in of real quality if we can, and just from my point of view, as sad as I am, as gutted as I am about how today panned out, it does sort of make you realise, as I said, how far you've got to come. What work there still is to do, and we are full of potential, but we need to sort of step up the levels. We need to progress, both in terms of what we've got and perhaps with external recruitment, because they're the polar opposite to us, really, in terms of the profile of their squad. It's absolutely sort of packed with really experienced players that are the finished article, where we've got a lot of players that I've got a real confidence will end up having good careers at some sort of level, but we're not. They've still got a bit of a way to go. Whereas, as I say, Totton, to their credit, they've got the sort of finished article in pretty much most positions. And sometimes the disappointment that I've got, it has to be tempered, because I feel, not easy for me to say now, but I honestly feel that if you look at Totton now compared to the start of the season, they've improved a lot, which is to their great credit. They're newly promoted. They're obviously, it takes time to move forward, and over the course of the season they've really moved forward. And I believe that if they'd had that squad of players from the start, they would have, I certainly think that they would have been really toe to toe with Chesham. They're a very accomplished side. We made a few mistakes and got just ruthlessly punished, and we looked quite pretty at times. We looked quite dynamic at times. Probably didn't hurt them enough. And like I say, when we made mistakes, they just punished us. So you got to give them great credit, because all you can ask of a manager, is to gradually improve the team. And they've been promoted. They've had a little look at it, and they've gradually just got better and better people in and improved their levels, and they're now a real force. And you wouldn't bet against them in the playoffs, I don't think.
Definitely, yeah. Plenty of possession and territory for you today. Could you perhaps made more of those situations? Yeah,
a little bit, but again, you have to take into account how well they've defended. Their goalkeeper's been very good. I felt, looking back, we probably set up a little bit wrong. We were a bit, what's the word? Perhaps it was a little bit naive to think that we could be as expansive as we were and get away with it. Would we have been better off just being a bit more direct and sort of playing in higher areas, trying to get the ball forward a bit earlier and make our passes and have possession a bit higher up the pitch. Against their strike force, you're taking a bit of a chance if you lose possession in deeper areas. So again, there's lessons to be learned. I thought we could really sort of use our energy and our athleticism against them, and perhaps it wasn't necessarily the right way to go. But I would always say, I think that first goal was an absolute catastrophe from our point of view, and it just makes life very, very, very difficult. So you live and learn. I think players have had a bit of a reality check about where we need to be, and I have as management team as well.
You mentioned the errors there. Perhaps Scott Rendell being unmarked for the 4th goal as well. Uncharacteristic errors, really, when you take into account the last 14-15 games.
Yeah, but it's a really young group, so there are, although we've been so good, there are going to be mistakes. I as disappointed as everyone is with today, I really feel we can't lose sight of the fact as to how good this group has been, bearing in mind their age and inexperience. And I still got complete belief in them. I know, like I say, they're not the finished article, most of them, in terms of individuals and us as a collective, but I just feel they're a really honest bunch and they've got a lot going for them, and I still feel if we can keep them together and add 2 or 3, I still feel we're only going to get better. And I believe, if we can get off to a good start, I believe we can be a force. We can be a force next year. But we've got to keep the squad together first and foremost, and then we've got to recruit well.
Drawing a line under today, how would you assess the season as a whole? Your first hit.
On a personal level, I've absolutely loved being here, and I say that because if I'm honest, when I first came, I sort of wasn't sure whether I was doing the right thing. I know it's a bit of a strange thing to say now, but things had ended badly for me at Poole, and I did wonder whether I just needed a bit more time. But from the minute I've walked in the door, the way that I've been treated on a personal level, the way the players have been, the management, Glenn, Woodsy, Churchy, Dodge, and then the environment at games. I know it took a bit of time to get going, but once the crowd saw that we were probably going in the right direction and saw what the players were giving, then suddenly there was a bit of a connection, and I've absolutely loved it on a personal level. And I do feel there's overall it's been very positive. I mean, I talked about Totton in terms of their squad now, without being disrespectful in terms of what was here when I arrived, I do believe that we have improved. I believe this squad of players now can be a force, and if we've been together all season, I think the league position would have would be a bit different. So I think there's a lot of positives, and also let's not forget, perhaps we shouldn't have been in the position we were in, but we were staring down the barrel. And if someone had told me we'd end up finishing, did we finish ninth in the end?
Ninth, yeah.
Yeah. Someone had ended up saying we'd finished ninth, it just didn't look very likely. So we don't want to be seen to be celebrating failure, but and next year I want to be in and around the playoffs. And if we're not, that is fate. I would rather make a statement in terms of to the players, supporters, everyone. I'm more than happy to sort of put myself up there to be shot at and put myself under pressure, because that's what I want, and I want the players to be put under pressure and to be tested, and I want the players to know what the expectations are. I don't want it to be, for them to think it's just a question of having an easy season, and if we win, we win, and lose, we win. We have got to have some proper objectives, and the objective is to get out the league, and the players need to know. I'd rather make that statement from day one, and if we're not living up to it, then we should be criticised. I should be criticised. Players should be criticised. That's the sort of environment that we want, not one where it's just okay to be mediocre. We've got to come away from that a little bit. So I'm hoping that we've made a start, and next season I want that certainly to be enhanced.
Yeah, and the first step towards those aspirations, you made, or 7 players have agreed to stay here next season. That must give you a great deal of positivity going into the summer. Yeah,
I said that, and my life's been made a little bit easier because I think they can see. Obviously today I haven't done us any favours, but I think the players that are here know we have got something that is very worth sticking with. So it's always makes your life easier in terms of retaining players when they've got a perception that things could be quite exciting going forward. And I also think it helps with your external recruitment in terms of people. I think will see that we're a lot closer to being a team that can challenge at the top end than has been the case in the past. That's what I'm hoping. I believe we are relatively close to that. So as I've said, if we can keep people, and we've made a good start on that, and get the right people in, and the better you get, the harder recruitment is. You know, the better squad you've got, the harder it is to improve it. So that's always something that you're aware of. But I just feel there's a lot to be positive about. And as I say, I've loved it here. I sort of didn't really realise how good a club it was, and certainly the supporters have been really, really impressive. The atmosphere, what they give when we played at home, what they've given us when we played away, it's just been huge, and it's a big part of why the players are so happy.
Very early days, of course, when you look towards securing the rest of the squad, or the majority of the rest of the squad. How confident are you that they will sort of come into line with the other 7 who's committed already?
I hope so. I mean, we got obviously 2 or 3 lads on loan that it's going to be difficult, and there's 2 or 3 other sort of conversations that are ongoing with all of them. And I hope that we'll have some good news over the next few days. I think that you're always going to get a situation where some things are a little bit harder to complete than others. So I've got a confidence that there's going to be more to come.
Do you think you're going to have to ward off clubs sniffing around players, given how well they performed?
Yeah, I think that you're always going to. There's always a sort of food chain in terms of. People are not blind to the fact that we've been impressive up until the last couple of games, and we've got young players. That's the thing that will always, as well. You've got young players that are probably people will see that can improve. So there's always going to be probably. And if there wasn't, you'd be a bit worried. If no one else wanted your players, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it? So, you almost hope that there's going to be other teams that would like your players, but you hope that they're going to have a bit of loyalty. I do feel this club treats players very well, and I'm not talking about necessarily financially. I'm just talking about you've got to be careful sometimes what you wish for. I know that firsthand in terms of obviously being at other football clubs. So you've got to be careful what you wish for, and some of these. I hope the players really realise, what they've got here and the potential that's here.
Great stuff. Tom, thank you very much.